Good evening, everybody, and welcome to Carving It Up Live right here on Twitter, as well as the Carving It Up YouTube channel and the Grid Network YouTube channel. As always, I'm Bryson Carver on a Super Bowl Friday. What do we got? About 48 hours and 30 minutes or so, 40 hours, 29 minutes, if we're going to be exact, until Super Bowl 58 between the San Francisco 49ers and the Kansas City Chiefs. I've decided this year to just say, you know what? I'm just here for a good game. I'll save the predicting for next year. No, this is a prediction show in many respects. So I'm going to predict, obviously, this game at the top of the hour at 7 Eastern, 4 Pacific. Very excited about that. John Rivera, Pham Perspective Podcast, he'll be stopping by in about a half hour to discuss not only the Super Bowl, but this current state of his Jets. He's a diehard Jets fan. I know he's going to have a lot to say about the state of the organization right now, which, let's just say their expectations were a tad higher coming into this year than what they ended up with. And of course, the Rodgers injury in week 1 had a lot to do with that. I'll get his take on that. Also, gonna get his take as well on NBA trade deadline, kind of where the state of the league is right now in terms of contenders and all that, and get his Super Bowl prediction as well. So very excited about that. Also, why Lamar Jackson's MVP that he secured last night, it's official. Lamar Jackson is a 2-time league MVP. Why I actually think that kind of hurts him moving forward. I'll explain in the second segment of the show, and again, end of the show. Super Bowl 58. Comes down to this. Niners, Chiefs, I'll predict at the end of the show. And by the way, it will be a special edition of my favorite segment. Might as well, to close the regular season, do a segment of
betting man.
If I Were a Betting Man. So very excited. But first, I've talked a lot about Kansas City this week and Mahomes in regards to his all-time status and why I don't think the Chiefs are villains and all that. And I thought about, hey, why don't I discuss Brock Purdy? But the more I thought about it throughout the week and leading up to the show, I was like, you know what? I think a storyline that is being addressed, but very sort of pessimistically, and not as much as, or I shouldn't say not as much as it should be, more than it should be, is Kyle Shanahan. So Kyle Shanahan, head coach of the San Francisco 49ers, has been one of the best coaches in all football over the last half decade or so. And there is an very odd amount of pressure that's being put on him that I don't think is particularly deserved. And I'll explain why. So Kyle Shanahan has a reputation, or 2 reputations. It'll be one or the other, depending on who you ask. One group of people, they would say his reputation, I would be in this class, would be brilliant offensive play caller. Son of Mike Shanahan, might be better than his dad just in terms of a pure schematical standpoint. From a pure schematical standpoint, West Coast offense can get the absolute best out of any possible running back. That's why the McCaffrey thing, I remember when the McCaffrey trade happened last season, people were like, oh, he gave up too much for McCaffrey. Like, you kidding me? You put the best running back in the league with the best run designer in the league, that's going to work, regardless of what can be, aside from Trent Williams, an average Niners offensive line. And then there's the other camp of people that say, yeah, we know he's smart. No, we're not going to deny he's a good coach, but we just really don't trust him in the playoffs, particularly with double-digit leads. And that reputation is not entirely unfair or undeserved in the sense that he was the offensive coordinator for the Atlanta Falcons when they blew that 28-3 lead to New England in the Super Bowl. I will say this, and I'll touch on this as the segment goes. Don't think he should get the amount of blame that the fact that he gets more blame than Dan Quinn gets, to me, is ludicrous, but more on that in a second. Lost that Super Bowl as the OC with the Atlanta Falcons. 2019, Super Bowl 54 with the 49ers against the Kansas City Chiefs. These Kansas City Chiefs, 20-10 lead in the fourth quarter. Kansas City goes nuts. Play calling is a little suspect from Shanahan, although not as much as one might expect. More on that in a second. Blown double-digit lead. Then he got the blown double-digit lead 2 years after that, NFC title game, right? The Niners are up 10 points in the fourth quarter, and the Rams reel off 13 straight points to win the game, and the Niners miss out on the Super Bowl. And so this year, it's like, well, I tell you what, a lot of there's no pressure on Kansas City. In the eyes of many, they weren't even supposed to be here. San Francisco's a different story. They're the best roster in the league. This collection of the core pieces of this team have been together for quite some time, and they added McCaffrey last year, and Purdy is objectively better than Jimmy Garoppolo. So while he has his limitations, he's absolutely an upgrade over Jimmy. You got to win this game. A lot of pressure on San Francisco. But what I fear is if the Niners lose on Sunday, and we'll have to see how the game plays out, obviously, it's going to be, and we do this every Super Bowl, I understand that, but we're going to do quarterback's no good, coach is no good, we're never going to see him back in the Super Bowl again. Meanwhile, the team that wins, if it's Kansas City, let's just say it's Kansas City for a moment, is going to be, they're going to reel off the next 10 Super Bowls. Overreaction Monday is at its peak. The Monday after Week 1 Sunday games and the Monday after the Super Bowl. I've said that for years on this show. But let's look at, this would be a good carving up the context segment, but the context around the Shanahan losses, the Shanahan blown double-digit leads. First of all, the first one, I wouldn't consider a Shanahan blown double-digit lead. Why? He was the OC, not the head coach. If he was the head coach of the Falcons, hey, I get it. But Dan Quinn was the head coach of the Atlanta Falcons. They go up 28-3 infamously on the Patriots. Tom Brady and the Patriots reel off, 31 unanswered points to win the game in overtime. And some of Shanahan's play calling came into question. I understand that. But Atlanta moved the ball with ease on New England. They put together three touchdown drives, because one of their touchdowns came in a pick six by Robert Alford off Tom Brady. 28-3, and your defense can't close that out. Now, I understand that's Tom, but to a deeper level, not only did they have Tom, the Patriots, he had Matt Ryan. Now, Matt Ryan, that was the best year of his career, but you don't think Kyle Shanahan had something to do with that? I believe Matt Ryan, if I'm not mistaken, might have led the NFL in passer rating that year. Matt Ryan was a good quarterback, better than I liked him better than most. He was not an MVP level quarterback. He's not MVP of the league good. Shanahan was able to elevate him beyond that. Shanahan got the Niners job the year after. Matt Ryan never reached levels close to that ever again. So he had the inferior quarterback by a significant margin, but Matt Ryan's no scrub. But then when he's the head coach of the Niners, year 3, makes the Super Bowl, and they face the Chiefs. And they're up 20-10 in the fourth quarter on Patrick Mahomes. Okay. With Jimmy Garoppolo, who I think everybody's on my team now, backup quarterback. Not a low-end starter, high-end backup. Backup quarterback. And I said that for a while. Had a 20-10 lead on the best quarterback on the face of God's green earth, Patrick Mahomes. And when the play calling might have been suspect, didn't run the ball as much as some would have liked, and the Niners defense gives up back-to-back touchdown drives to the Chiefs, all of a sudden, Jimmy's got the ball in his hands. Midfield, under 2 minutes to go, and Kyle Shanahan, the guy who can't coach, can't draw up plays, and is a choker, draws up, calls the perfect play call for that situation against that Kansas City defense. It was a post route to Emmanuel Sanders. He got the edge. He outran the corner defending him, and Garoppolo overthrew him. If Garoppolo simply hits a deep ball to Emmanuel Sanders that 90% of quarterbacks could hit, who knows? Maybe San Francisco wins the Super Bowl. Now, the Chiefs would have gotten the ball with a minute and change to go. Nobody's going to count out Patrick Mahomes in that scenario, but nonetheless, the Niners would have had the lead late in the fourth quarter. That ain't on Shanahan, folks. That's on this quarterback, who is, again, in that game, at a massive quarterback disadvantage. Garoppolo, Mahomes, it's not even funny. 2 years later, NFC title game against Chiefs, against the Los Angeles Rams. Double-digit lead fourth quarter. When did the game turn for the Rams? Remember when Stafford threw that deep ball down 10 in the fourth quarter? And Stafford's a darn good quarterback, way better than Jimmy. Throws the deep ball. The safety, I believe it's a safety Tart, straight up drops it. If he catches that, it's mid to late fourth quarter. Niners can bleed a lot of clock out and probably put the game on ice and make the Super Bowl that year with Jimmy Garoppolo again. So I'm supposed to believe all of a sudden Kyle Shanahan can't coach. If the Niners lose this game, and it's because it turns into a situation where the Niners got to go throw for throw with Patrick Mahomes, and they lose, we're going to put that on Shanahan? Folks, in every big game that he has ever coached, Super Bowl or NFC title game, every single time, he's had the inferior quarterback. Every time. When he's the OC in Atlanta, Matt Ryan is not as good as Aaron Rodgers. Just point blank. Y'all know I've been more critical of Aaron than most. Matt Ryan's not Aaron Rodgers. It's not even debatable. We'd all agree with that. Jimmy Garoppolo, 2019, not as good as Aaron Rodgers. Okay, Jimmy G and Stafford against the Rams in 2021. Jimmy G's not Stafford. This year, Purdy against Jared Goff. I'm sorry, Jared Goff's the better quarterback. He's been to multiple NFC title games and a Super Bowl. He's a better quarterback than Purdy. So if the Niners lose, it's on Shanahan. I feel like with Purdy, and that to me shows me how the public really thinks of Purdy. I've always been in the middle ground because you got the Purdy class that loves him, thinks he's amazing, and then the group that's like, he's not that good. He's elevated by the system. I'm kind of somewhere in between. He's about a top 12, 13-ish quarterback who happens to have the single best roster in the sport. That's not to discredit how he's played in the playoffs. I thought he was phenomenal in the second half of the NFC title game against Detroit, and he deserves credit for that, especially with his legs. But to somehow act like this is the coach's fault, if San Francisco loses the Super Bowl, again, we got to see how the game plays. I understand that. But if it comes down to which quarterback can outduel the other, well, that's not even a fair fight. Heck, Josh Allen can't do that against Mahomes. You tell me Brock Purdy can? So that's Lamar Jackson couldn't. Now, again, some of that, they were facing a great Kansas City defense. I understand that. But I don't know. I fear that if the Niners lose on Sunday, the conversation's going to warp. And for the next 7 months, Kyle Shanahan can't win the big one. What do we know about this league? And I've been saying this since the 2021 season. It's 2024 now. It is a quarterbacks league. If you have the better guy, you're about an 80% bet, regardless of roster, to win. Case in point, see the Chiefs against the Baltimore Ravens last week. The Ravens had the exponentially better roster than Kansas City, top to bottom. The Ravens have an elite quarterback, Lamar Jackson, who I'm about to talk about in just a second. The Chiefs have, as we sit here today, the fourth greatest quarterback ever, and on many's lists, maybe as high as second by Sunday night. If the Niners lose, gotta see how the game plays out. I get it. This should not be a referendum on Shanahan's ability to coach football. And I fear that's what it's going to turn into because of the social media count the rings culture that we live in. Let's look at the comments. Patrick Brown. What's up, Patrick? Happy Friday. Super Bowl preview and predictions available. Swing over to the Grid website and see who I have winning the game and Super Bowl MVP. Yes, everybody go check out Patrick's articles. Works his tail off, puts out some great stuff on the Grid's website, does a fantastic job. Please go give Patrick some clicks on his article, and please read it. He does a fantastic job. Like I said, and I mean this, I'm not just saying this because Patrick commented. I'm saying this because I know my show's live. My show's going to be watched and listened to. Not that many people that puts more work in than Patrick Brown. I'm just going to tell you right now, the guy works his behind off to put out the best content he could possibly put out for this network, and we are very lucky to have him. So please check out Patrick's content on the Grid Network website. I don't know. I just don't. We are so often. I get. What did Herman Edwards say? You play to win the game. I get that, and that's the ultimate goal. But swap the quarterbacks. Now, that's the ultimate extreme. Purdy, Mahomes, I get that. But just follow me here. Swap the quarterbacks in this game. Put Mahomes on the Niners. Put Purdy in the Chiefs. Chiefs wouldn't have gotten here. I'm sorry to say. The Chiefs would not have gotten here. All right? You put Mahomes on that Niners team, good Lord almighty. That might be the greatest team I've ever seen in my life, if that happened. I don't know. That's where I'm at. That's where I'm at in Kyle Shanahan. Now, I'll tell you this too. NFL honors were last night. Congratulations to all the winners. Although I must openly admit that I was quite salty about one of the award winners. This isn't the segment. I just want to throw this out there. Myles Garrett won Defensive Player of the Year. Yeah, best defensive player in the league. Despite the fact that TJ Watt had 26 more tackles, 15 more solo tackles, 5 more sacks, 13 more pressures, 2 more quarterback hits, 2 more tackles for loss, just as many forced fumbles, 2 more fumble recoveries, 1 more interception, 5 more pass deflections, and 1 more touchdown. But yes, give it to Myles Garrett. He's obviously the Defensive Player of the Year over a guy who's the only player in the history of the sport to lead the league in sacks 3 times. Just saying. Myles Garrett's phenomenal. He's not TJ Watt. Objectively, by the numbers, heck, by the eye test. I mean, Myles Garrett at one point this season went 5 straight games without a sack. Are you kidding me? Really? It's not even arguable. Not even arguable. Watt's absolutely, and listen, I mean, there was a second there, and listen, at least TJ Watt came in over Micah Parsons. Y'all know how I feel about Micah lately. That guy's been getting on my nerves. He trails all of them. Watt and Garrett. I'm sorry, he trails Watt in every single category. So for a second, I thought that Watt was going to get screwed for Parsons in second place. I kind of knew deep down that they were give it to Myles Garrett because, hey, it's a narrative they create in their heads. The Browns, great defense. And they were. Listen, Cleveland had a phenomenal defense. But and Myles Garrett's a physical phenomenon. But he's not as good as TJ Watt. I'm sorry to tell that to the voters. But it's too late. You know what? Cleveland's got to win something. You know what I'm saying? Yeah, they got to win something. You Clevelanders think I was going to be on your side after Monday's show, me defending though. No, that was a one-timer only. Myles Garrett over TJ Watt. Come on, man. It's not even debatable. And I love what TJ Watt put on Twitter. What'd he say? Let me pull this up. What did he say? I think he said he's used to this or something. Where's the TJ Watt post or tweet or X, whatever the heck it's called these days? I don't see it. Maybe he took it down. I don't know. TJ Watt take it down? TJ Watt tweeted minutes before the NFL honors started. Yeah, nothing I'm not used to. Yeah. There you go. But also other award winners, CJ Stroud won Offensive Rookie of the Year, deservedly so. Listen, Puka Nacua was special. He was outstanding, but what CJ Stroud did in taking this team to the playoffs was fantastic. Then you had Kevin Stefanski, who who was it? The actor? I'm blanking on his name. That's on all these shows. I'm blanking his name. He butchered the name. He called him Steve Stefanski instead of Kevin when he read it off. Listen, it happens. It happens to all of us. But Kevin Stefanski won Coach of the Year. Joe Flacco won Comeback Player of the Year, which I know everybody, who cares? Damar Hamlin didn't. Hamlin darn near died and came back to play football. And Joe Flacco himself didn't think he deserved the award. He said it a week or so ago. He said, what did I come back from, being old? Joe Flacco, cool. Listen, Joe Flacco's a cool story. I get that. And listen, far exceeded expectations for what any of us thought he would do in Cleveland. But if they're going to give it to a guy because he had some down years, then give it to Baker. Like Baker would have been the better option if they weren't going to go with Damar Hamlin. Joe Flacco, that was an odd one. That was a very odd one. But again, Cleveland's got to win something. They got to give them their participation trophies. It's Cleveland, so we got to make them feel good. Who else won? We had Defensive Rookie of the Year, Will Anderson, well-deserved, had a fantastic rookie season. How about the Texans? Take Stroud second, Will Anderson third. Both of them win their respective awards for Rookie of the Year on their side of the ball. Well-deserved. What else am I missing on their awards? Offensive Rookie of the Year, Christian McCaffrey, well-deserved. The best running back in the sport who could also be a slot receiver. Listen, I think I've said for years, Deebo Samuel to me is the best all-around offensive player in the sport because you can do whatever you want with him. McCaffrey's not that far behind. He's fantastic on that side of the ball. I don't think I'm missing any other. Cam Hayward, by the way, go Steelers, won Walter Payton Man of the Year. Done some fantastic work in the community in Pittsburgh and gave a great speech. Prince Harry presented him the award, so that was it was random, but it was pretty cool. Even Cam Hayward seemed a little bit starstruck. But and then they announced the Hall of Fame class, which was great. But MVP was presented, and to the surprise of nobody, Lamar Jackson won league MVP. Was a single first place vote, first ballot vote away. From winning unanimously for the second time, which I think I could be wrong. I think only Brady has done that. I could be, maybe Lamar would have been the first to do that. Who might you ask the vote went to? Well, it probably wouldn't surprise you. It was Josh Allen. The fandom of Josh Allen it's almost reached cult status. I'm not gonna lie to you. It's strange. Josh, phenomenal. Not even close to the MVP of the league. That aside, Lamar wins MVP. Gave a great speech. And I love one of the things he said where he said, I want to thank the Ravens for getting my deal done. And that was obviously a big story. Is Lamar going to stay with the Ravens and whatnot? I'll say this. And again, some of it, I understand it. I've been a Lamar guy for a very long time, even though I'm a Steelers fan. I think Lamar is a sensational talent at the quarterback position. And I think he's the third best quarterback in all of football behind Mahomes and Joe Burrow. I think this MVP is going to hurt him moving forward until he at least gets to a Super Bowl. Now, the area where that's fair, in my estimation, is got 2 MVPs and has just as many playoff wins. He's 2-4 in the playoffs. And has had one great playoff game. That was the game against Houston this year. One in his other playoff win, really good win against Tennessee back in 2020. And the 4 losses were clunkers. He was awful in all 4 of them. That's the area where I think it's fair. This is the part where it gets tough. And we see this throughout sport, not NFL history, sports history, where we judge a guy harshly because he can't get through an all-time talent in Lamar Jackson. Lamar, knock on wood, everybody's healthy, is going to have to get through that guy in Kansas City every single year. Why do you think I have Burrow second? Because somehow, some way, gosh darn it, he pulled it off in 2022. He pulled it off. He slayed the dragon in Kansas City. Brady did it twice, one of them being in Kansas City. Brady, Burrow, that's it. Only guys to knock off Mahomes in the postseason. You say, well, why are you so much harder on Josh? You know I'm harder on Josh? Because some folks try to act like he's as good, if not better, than Mahomes, which is an opinion not supported by fact or evidence or logic, reason, or your eyeballs, but some people like to run with that. But do we hold it against those 90s Bulls teams? I'm sorry, those 90s Bulls teams. So those 90s teams and 90s stars, Barkley, Ewing, Stockton, Malone, for not getting through Michael Jordan. Do we hold it against? Actually, many do. I don't. Against LeBron James, and he ran into the greatest team ever constructed in 2017 with the Golden State Warriors, and then 2018 they weren't a whole lot worse, although not quite as dominant as the year prior. If we're going to hold it against Lamar Jackson for future reference that, hey, we can't give him league MVP until he has playoff success, because for the record, Lamar's now got not 1 MVP, he's got 2. That's a very exclusive club. Mahomes got 2. Rodgers has 4. Manning has 5. Brady has 3. Like, it's a very, very small club of guys that have multiple MVPs. And you know what they all have in common, except for Lamar? They got a ring. At least one. Even Rodgers, who's a known playoff joker, even he got 1 back in 2010. So that is going to be used against Lamar in the future. And by the way, that's fair. For the record, it was used against Jokic last year, and I was the head of that train saying, man, the guy's done nothing in the playoffs. You're going to give him another MVP? What did Jokic do? Jokic broke through, won the finals, was amazing in the playoffs. Now the narrative has changed. However, this isn't to knock Jokic. This is to defend Lamar. Jokic never had to go through a buzzsaw or a powerhouse or a dominant team. That's not to take a shot at Denver, because their run last year was as dominant as I've seen. They were the dominant team. But now we view Jokic in a different light, where it's like, yeah, we can give him MVP. Yeah, he had a great run. He won the finals MVP. We're going to hold that against Lamar. In that context, it's fair. But under the context of, man, he can't beat Mahomes. Well, that's not fair, because only Burrow and Brady have. And Brady, don't know if you heard of him, he's kind of the GOAT. And Burrow, I believe to be the second best quarterback in the sport. Now, once again, people will be like, oh, Bryson, you don't give the same energy to Josh Allen. You don't give him the pass, because other folks act like he's on the same level as Mahomes. Nobody, no rational person at least, acts like Lamar's in the same class as Mahomes, because he's not. Because Burrow's not. Because Allen's not. Nobody is in the same class as Mahomes, because he is the best quarterback of all time and the 4th greatest quarterback of all time. That's, like I said, is a big difference. It will be used against him in the future, though. Fair or unfair, that's how it works. So we'll see what happens moving forward if he's able to dispel that narrative. That's like athletes, listen, I will always pull against the Ravens. But athletes like Lamar Jackson, when they do finally break through, it changes everything, and you feel good for him. Lamar's an easy guy to root for. We got some comments up in here. Patrick, TJ Watt didn't win Defensive Player of the Year. What football do people watch? Yeah, I was asking the same question, Patrick. TJ led the league in sacks. Yes, he did. 19 sacks this year. By the way, was it a fractured hand? Fractured wrist. He had some injury he suffered against the Ravens early in the season, like week 5. Played through the injury the rest of the year. And, whatever. Tyler Helton, I can't wait for the Super Bowl. My team, let's go Chiefs. My score prediction is Chiefs 27, Niners 20. That's a great score prediction. Obviously, I'll predict at the end of the show. You got two fantastic defenses, although one's playing demonstrably better than the other, talking about the Chiefs over the Niners, and one offense that's absolutely loaded everywhere except the quarterback position, and I like Purdy. In San Francisco. And then in Kansas City, you got an awesome quarterback, an awesome tight end, and Rashee Rice is good. Rashee Rice is getting better. After that, let's just say they don't exactly stack up with the Niners in that regard. Let's see. Patrick, could Lamar be this era's... Okay, this is interesting. Could Lamar be this era's Dan Marino? Stats, but not get over the hump against Kansas City. Are there any parallels we're seeing right now? That's a good comparison. Obviously from a physical perspective, from a mechanical perspective, Dan Marino is one of the greatest throwers of the football we've ever seen. Lamar is not that. Lamar is a much better thrower than he gets credit for. Obviously, though, Lamar is the way better athlete than Marino. That's fair. And Dan, obviously, now Dan didn't have to go through great quarterbacks or like all-time great teams in the 80s. Like the great team in the 80s was the Niners, who were in the opposite conference. What's a better comparison? Who's a quarterback that couldn't get through Brady? I'm trying to think. Phillip Rivers. Nah, Lamar's better than Phillip Rivers. Not Big Ben. Big Ben got a couple titles and got to another Super Bowl. I'm trying that. Peyton. Listen, Peyton for years could not get through Brady, and then finally 2006, bam, he broke through. Maybe I think Peyton Manning would be the better. Early Peyton Manning would be the better parallel, Patrick, because he wasn't good in the playoffs, but he won multiple MVPs. The numbers were great. Peyton Manning would be... Now, I'm not saying Lamar is going to end up being a Mount Rushmore quarterback because Peyton is that, but early career, I think that's the better comparison. Just from a, like you said, a statistical standpoint, from an accomplishment standpoint, like MVPs, but no playoff success, that's more than possible. Patrick, Lamar winning MVPs but not winning a Super Bowl, or will it be the latter of his prime before winning the Super Bowl? John Elway-esque title run. Well, Elway made 3 Super Bowls before he won his 2 at the end of his career. Now, in those 3, he got absolutely hammered in all of them. Denver was, and again, it was, those Denver teams weren't near as good as their opposition. I think one of their Super Bowls, I forget one of the opponents they played. I'm blanking on it. They played San Francisco one year. Yeah, they played San Francisco, one of those 80s Niners teams. That's one that comes off my memory at the top of my head. But Elway did. Here's the thing, though. Elway did at least make some Super Bowls. Peyton would be, because, again, to me, Peyton's a better comparison than Marino, just because Marino never had that giant in terms of a team or quarterback in the AFC that he had to go through. There, everybody go through year in and year out. Manning is the better parallel because the Patriots, Brady, Belichick, like that was a thing. For sure. Tyler Helton, any thoughts on Isaiah Pacheco? I love Isaiah Pacheco. I do too. I don't know anybody who can watch football and not love Isaiah Pacheco. He runs hard. He's good in pass pro. He's great between the tackles. He can catch passes out of the backfield. And listen, kid was a 7th round pick out of Rutgers last year from Kansas City. I remember last year, I forget how many yards he ran for. He was amazing in the Super Bowl last year against Philadelphia. So yeah, Pacheco's a fantastic player. I wouldn't go so far as to call him elite yet, but I think there's 2 elite players in Kansas City's offense, and we know who they are. They're Mahomes and Kelsey, but yeah, they can run the football effectively. That's, again, I'll detail this more. My biggest concern for the Chiefs, though, and we've seen this before, this year, not to as great an extent as 3 years ago, that offensive line's a bit of a problem because Juwan Taylor is Mr. Holding Call himself. They've got, I forget who's the guy's name that's missing. Tooney, who's probably going to miss this game. My man, Trey Smith, go Vols, he's been struggling with the holding calls. I think he had 2 or 3 against Baltimore. That's a little concerning for sure. Yeah, Patrick, the what if Pittsburgh drafted Dan Marino? That would have, and Dan Marino went to Pitt. I wonder if that's why the Steelers took Kenny Pickett, because obviously Kenny Pickett went to Pitt, just like Dan Marino. Obviously, the Steelers didn't draft Marino in the early 80s in what was one of the greatest quarterback drafts, maybe the greatest quarterback draft of all time. I think it was 83, 84, something like that, and 82, early 80s. And obviously, they lived to regret it. Dan became one of the best ever. I hope that's not what went into the Steelers are a smart organization. I guarantee that's probably not why they did it, but if so, that would be a very odd reason. We got the next Dan Marino and Kenny Pickett. Not quite. Not quite. Let's see. Swain Bros Sports is in the comments. Please like and subscribe to our Kid Run Sports channel. We just subbed here. Also, go Niners. Shout out to the Swain Bros Sports. Appreciate that. And he says, we like the Vols. We live in Chattanooga. Shout out to all Vols fans out there. Yeah, there you go. West Tennessee, and you support the Vols. I appreciate that. That's you're probably closer to Alabama, right? For sure. All right, so we got a guest coming on. He is a massive New York Jets fan, a big supporter of the show. He comments often. I consider him a true friend of mine. He'll have a lot of thoughts on this year's Super Bowl, the NBA, and, of course, once again, his New York Jets. Would you please give a warm welcome back to Carving It Up Live? John Rivera is joining Carving Up Live. John, my man, how you doing?
Great on this Friday. How are you, brother?
Doing well, man. Doing well. Very excited about this weekend. And listen, it's always a bittersweet time where it's football's ending. We got to wait another 7 months for it to come back. It's definitely tough. But first of all, latest going on with your show. I want to know what's going on with the Pham Perspective as of late. Tell everybody about your show if they haven't been able to tune in as of late.
Yeah, definitely go check out Pham Perspective Podcast, man. We're on episode 197, man. Hitting 200, man. Pham TV on YouTube, you know what I'm saying? You can check us out. We definitely got other content there as well. You know, me and my nephew, Henny Drake, is on there, like I said, man. We give you sports, entertainment, you know, we give great interviews with other, you know, creatives and, you know, between art or fashion or real estate, you know, we kind of go everywhere. But our main perspective, Pham Perspective, is sports, you know what I'm saying? So definitely here, man, and representing the brand for sure.
Yes, sir. Everybody check it out. Great content. YouTube. Anywhere you get your podcast, fantastic Pham Perspective. So your thoughts on the Super Bowl. So start with San Francisco, the NFC champions. Obviously a regular season, which by and large, they looked like the best team in the conference and sometimes the best teams in football until Baltimore came in on Christmas and just waxed them. But in the playoffs, had to come back to beat Green Bay. Then they had to come back from an even greater deficit to knock off Detroit in the NFC title game. I want to know your thoughts on Brock Purdy because he's a very polarizing player. You got your camp that thinks he's amazing. You got your camp that thinks he's terrible. I'm somewhere in between. I think he's like a top 13, 14-ish quarterback. I think he's good. I call him Sturdy Purdy for a reason. I don't call him Elite Purdy. Your thoughts on Brock Purdy? Where are you at on him in terms of his importance to them winning this game?
Yeah. No, I feel the same way, man. I feel the same way you do. Like, you know, San Francisco fans will feel like, oh, people are mistreating him or talking junk about him. And you got other people that, oh, he's overrated. Like, I think with you, I think he's about 13, you know what I mean, in that area, you know. A little more of a game manager to me, you know what I mean. He take a little more risk, you know what I mean, but definitely a game manager, you know, that Shanahan system, man. Like, anybody could do wonders in there. You see Jimmy G, you know what I mean, and going back to Atlanta, you know what I mean. Like, he got a great offense, man, great offense to work with. You got all the weapons and stuff like that. So he has everything in his favor, man. Like, so I give him the benefit of the doubt far as even if you have all that talent, sometimes you still got to play good ball. You know what I mean? Like, you can't be trash and got that talent, you know what I mean? And so you won't succeed. So I definitely think he's more of a game manager. He don't make too many mistakes, man. But I think, like I said, I got it right with you, man. I got him in the middle of the pack, like, you know, probably a little more above in the middle of the pack. He's a good quarterback. You know.
He's good. Like, that's probably the best. He's good. He's not good, great. He's not bad. He's good. Like, and that's why I said earlier in the show, and that's why we got to see how the game plays on Sunday, obviously. But I feel like a lot of the blame is going to shift to Shanahan because this could be another Super Bowl he loses. And I'm like, well, in all those Super Bowls, he had the inferior quarterback. Brady's better than Matt Ryan. Obviously, Mahomes better than Garoppolo, and Mahomes definitely better than Purdy. But it's going to be an interesting Super Bowl. So, your thoughts on the San Francisco side. Again, I've said all year I thought they were the best roster in the league. I had Baltimore number one for a while, but just top to bottom, just elite linebacking core, pass rush, receivers, tight end. Not a great O-line, but an awesome left tackle, and obviously McCaffrey with Purdy manning the ship. I feel like this year, John, it's kind of a if not now, when type of scenario for the 49ers where, listen, I get Kansas City is back in the Super Bowl. We know their history as of late, but it kind of feels like the NFC was weak. They were able to get through it. And you kind of got to take advantage now before some of these guys start getting older. What do you think the pressure, scale of 1 to 10, what's the pressure level on San Francisco coming into this game?
the pressure level, man. Like I said, the NFL is one of the, I was talking the other day. Like NFL is one of the hardest. The Super Bowl is one of the hardest things. It's one and done, so you never know. You know what I mean? It's like the NBA or baseball. You know what I mean? Most rounds, you got to go 3 or 4 rounds, 3 or 4. You got to win 3 or 4 games. But yeah, I think on a scale of 1 to 10, I say an 8, bro, because they've been there. 2, 3 years ago they've been there. You know what I mean? Players, they get older. People gonna start wanting money. Everything. Like you can't. You struck gold when you heard. You got Purdy. You know what I mean? And he's been playing consistent. You struck gold with that. So you got to, strike while the iron's hot, man. And so I will put that, their level at an 8, man. Cause like I said, it's real hard to get to the Super Bowl. I know you was talking about, just to dig back a little bit, you was talking about Lamar Jackson. Them. I think same for them. I think they're like an 8 or 9 because it's really hard, to get there, as a team, especially when you was the favorite and everything. It's definitely hard. So, but yeah, on a scale of 1 to 10, I got 8, man, for San Francisco. Just like you was referring to, man, both teams, man, it's like if they fall behind, it's like you're not worried. You know what I'm saying? Like you're not worried at all about the teams coming back for sure. But with San Fran, man, it's all about health, man. If all their key players can stay healthy, man, they definitely have a great shot at just winning the Super Bowl, man. And like you said, man, since their last Super Bowl, man, the last 4 or 5 years, man, San Francisco, top to bottom, been one of the least top 5 teams as far as talent-wise, man. Even Jimmy G wasn't a scrub, you know what I mean? But they always had elite, high standard running backs and receivers, and defense always been solid. So definitely up there in talent-wise. Like I said, it's definitely an 8 though for them on the scale of 1 to 10 of they have to win this because you might not get here for another long time. You know what I mean?
Yeah, and like you hit a great you had a great point with striking gold on Purdy in the sense that that's kind of the ideal scenario for all these teams. Like not pay your quarterback that much, rookie deal. You want to take advantage of that and put the talent around him and put the necessary pieces. Obviously, the Niners have done that, and John Lynch deserves a lot of credit. To Kansas City's side, so this is a very different Chiefs team than years past. You were used to Mahomes and Kelsey in this high-flying, not that they haven't played well, but this high-flying Chiefs offense. This year it's been the defense. They're second in almost every category in terms of points, in terms of points, scoring defense. So where are you on in Kansas City in terms, like where would you say Mahomes and the Chiefs get this title? This would be 3 titles in 5 years. What do you think this would be the most impressive, given sort of the adversities and the lack of great wide receiver talent?
Yeah, I would say, as far as the previous Super Bowls, yeah, because like you said, man, they haven't been playing consistent or good ball all year. Like talent wise, what I mean, they always just made it, do what it do, as people say or whatever. You know what I mean? Andy Reid offense, and they kind of get the job done. Score points. And the defense is just making enough plays to win the game. But like you said, opposite now this year, where you got Chris Jones, they paid him. Well, technically didn't pay him, but they did pay him, so he's going to get a nice payday. But, the defense is definitely, Spagnoli over there. They're running that good defense, man. And it's definitely a different Chiefs team, I would say. You know what I'm saying? Coming into the Super Bowl, just like you was talking previously on the show. And, I was commenting, I'm like, yeah, this is different, man. Like, they went into Buffalo, like, everybody wanted them to lose. They went into Baltimore, everybody wanted them to lose. Taylor Swift got into the, equation, and now everybody's on him and disliking him more. I'm tired of seeing Taylor. Travis Kelce, like, he went on a, 7-game streak where he didn't even have a touchdown. So, he was on a down year. Like, everything wasn't looking too pretty for them, but then you looked at their record and it wasn't, they were still in the mix, top 3, top 4. So that's scary to me, man. Like, if you going through all that adversity, man, and still be top 4 team, like, throughout the whole league, man, like, this is definitely will be one of the most impressive, will be the most impressive Kansas City Chiefs team to win the Super Bowl, man, if they get the job done on Sunday.
Your point earlier about Brock Purdy and not paying him much kind of applies to Kansas City now, in the sense that outside of Chris Jones, this is a cheap defense. Now, L'Jarius Sneed's probably going to get paid. L'Jarius Sneed's been one of the most underrated players in football. He's had a great year. But in general, like the linebacking core, defensive backs, most of their pass rushers are mostly on the rookie deals. So, like, I remember talking about going into the Buffalo game. I'm like, this Buffalo will never get a better opportunity than now to beat Kansas City, where they're at home. The Chiefs are weak offensively. Now we have, next year, regardless of if they win, the Chiefs are going to go in this offseason, go after the wide receiver position, be aggressive in the draft, and maybe add somebody in free agency. Who knows? I'm still not ruling out the DeAndre Hopkins possibility, which if that happens, God bless the rest of the NFL. That could be scary with Patrick Mahomes and Travis Kelce. For Mahomes, though, so there's been a lot of talk about, the chase with Brady, all this. All time, where do you think he I know you sort of mentioned it in the comments for one of my shows in the other day, but where would you have him all time in the quarterback rankings list if he wins this year's Super Bowl? And we assume he'll win Super Bowl MVP if they do.
Yeah. Like I said, I'll have him at too. I'll have him. I think everybody's list varies. You know what I mean? But like Brady is one of them guys that he's just gonna be number one, bro. Like whether you like him or not, bro. If he was your favorite quarterback or not, bro, you're gonna have him number one, and he's there. Like now, it's just a race for number two, and then you can be biased on who you like and stuff like that. Like I always praise Dan Marino. You mentioned him earlier. Like Dan was the man. Like I was one of my favorite quarterbacks of all time. And you got Peyton. I always liked Peyton over Brady. Like I always thought he was more skilled, more everything. Like Peyton was the man. Like when it was going back and forth, but Brady always won, you know what I'm saying? Even though, Peyton was the better quarterback in my eyes, you know what I'm saying? But
early on, yeah, for sure.
Yeah, but like I said, the rings and stuff, you can't match that or whatever. But John Elway, he's one of my top 5 quarterbacks of all time. Like he was one of the first, to do it like both ways on his feet, you know what I mean, and have a gun, you know what I'm saying? Obviously,
right.
He went to the major leagues with the Yankees and stuff. But but if he do that, I'll have him too, man. Like I said, it'll be 3 rings. In 5 years or something like that? 5, 6 years?
Yeah. 5 years, which is before he's even 30, by the way.
Right, in 5 years and stuff like that. And like I said, Joe had Jerry Rice and the elite defense with Ronnie Lott and them guys, you know what I mean? So I would definitely put him, number 2 of all time if he wins this championship. And like I said, man, if he goes on, like I said, early in his career, if he goes on, quarterbacks are playing 20 years almost these days, you know what I'm saying? That's a great position to play. Like, you want to grow up and be something, try your best to be quarterback, man. That's like a pitcher. Like, you're gonna be there forever, man. Like, so,
and the money ain't bad too.
Oh yeah, and the money, you top pay is definitely for the most part till Lamar this year. It was definitely next man up. You know what I mean? No matter who you were, it was next man up in that position. You know what I'm saying? But overall, like I said, if he wins the Super Bowl, man, I have him number 2 in my list. Like I said. Other people might not put him there. Some people might even try to squeeze him at 1, even though Brady got out of the rings just because they didn't like Brady like that. But definitely number 2 in my eyes for sure.
He's no lower than 3rd on my list. He definitely passes Peyton, especially when you compare their playoff numbers. Like Mahomes beats him by a mile there. Sure. And that's that's the sort of the weird thing with Joe, and that's where we get into this weird space where. Are we debating greatest quarterbacks or best quarterbacks? If we're doing best, I think Mahomes has to be number 1 just in terms of raw talent. And obviously, if you're going to compare Montana and Mahomes, no disrespect to Joe, but talent-wise, it's not even close.
That's what I'm saying. Yeah, and that's why I was saying Elway too, because he was that dual threat. You know what I'm saying? Elway was a gun. He had a gun, and he can, run for that 5-6 yards. You know what I'm saying? So he was definitely more athletic than Joe. Like I said, Joe had the arm though. He can get it there, but as far as athletic-wise, them guys are smoking them guys. Brady, all of them, you know what I mean? Marino, they're smoking them.
For sure. I'll get your pick for the game when we're done, but I do want to shift to your Jets. So last year had to be, not to bring back bad memories, but last year had to be one of the most painful for you, given the expectations coming in. Obviously, the injury to Rodgers 4 snaps in was just devastating. I remember that. Now, I'm not even a Jets fan, John, and I was like, you have got to be kidding me. So I cannot even fathom what the vibes were like in Jets land that particular night. But obviously Rodgers gonna be 40 years old, coming off the Achilles. Robert Saleh, Joe Douglas, everybody's coming back next year. Your outlook on that? Listen, we haven't even entered the offseason yet. You still got draft, free agency, all that. But just in general, your overall expectations for the Jets going into the 2024 season would be what?
Make the playoffs.
Okay, that's fair.
I would say just make, even like I said last year, like I was like, get to the second round, make the playoffs. I wasn't, obviously when you got Rodgers, he always going to put you in the mix. You see what he did with the Packers for years, like with them teams talking about, talent-wise, like, he'd bring them teams that had the best record. You know, they have great playoff success, but you look up and they'll have the best record in NFC. So, but yeah, I see playoffs, man. I see playoffs. Last year was definitely tough when you had the expectations, man. You're going into the all season and you get Rodgers and one of the all-time greatest quarterbacks, top 5, top 6, whatever you want to say, to get in your building with a young core that we was building. We had offensive and defensive rookie of the year like Houston did this year. Breece Hall, doing this thing. So it was definitely tough. But yeah, playoffs this year, man. I think we go all in on offensive line, add another receiver. Pay 1 or 2 defensive players because we can't pay them all, and we'll go from there, man. Just like Woody Johnson said, man. He basically just said offense. He's like, listen, offense got to change. He said defense was stellar. He was like, whatever, you're good with the defense. Offense has to change. Like, and he put everybody kind of on the hot seat. And I feel like they all have to be on the hot seat, man. You got to put people in there to make better decisions. You know what I'm saying? Like, right. I understand Rodgers is the man, and you can get his opinion on stuff, but as a GM and stuff like that, like, you got to go, all right, I'm going to understand Cook is a nice guy, but let's go pay this offensive lineman. You know what I mean? Like, and I liked the move, but I was like, I'd rather get the offensive lineman we could have got. I forgot what the guy's name, but we should just pay him. Certain things like that. Hackett need to take a step back, and it looks like he is like going to bring somebody to, be more fully charged with the offense because it just wasn't looking good. Even when you got backup people in there, you still have to look kind of clean. You know what I'm saying? Like,
look at the Browns this year, John. They had a bunch of backup quarterbacks, and they were flowing.
Yeah, now every time I talk to somebody, I was like, listen, man, Browns might be a little more talented than us, but like talent-wise, like we kind of match up. Like we got the same situation going on as far as quarterback. Like both our quarterbacks went down. We both got top 3 defenses. We both got a running back, a wide receiver. Like, why couldn't we do what the Browns did? You know what I'm saying? And so, yeah, I expect, like I said, hopefully playoffs if we make, like I said, the moves in the draft. And the only good thing that came out is we got to keep our first-round draft pick, you know what I mean? Draft for O-line. Yeah. Hopefully we get that. My guy from Notre Dame, if not the kid from Penn State, you know what I'm saying? One of them pillars that could be there for 10, 15 years, man. And, even past Rodgers, because I can see Rodgers playing. It depends on what we do, man, because I don't want to put out there, but if we make the playoffs and everything goes good, I can see Rodgers playing two more years, after this year, so like 3 years total.
So that would be 42. He might. He might. Because I know the only thing is what's that?
No, because I was just saying, like we said earlier, like the quarterbacks are just playing forever, like for ourselves and stuff like that,
For sure. Patrick Brown in the comments says, John's thoughts on Joe Douglas and Robert Saleh's future beyond 2024. If they don't snip the playoffs, are both gone and start over?
Yeah, no, they're gone. They're like, no question. Like, if it was like teeter-totter this year, man, they would have probably made a shot at Bill Belichick over there. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
I can see moves like that where it's like, listen, we are head coach away. How certain teams try to think of themselves. Like, listen, we got the right head coach, we'll bring them in and stuff like that. So maybe, even if the year goes like okay, but it feels like you need a coaching change, I can see a coaching change. You know what I'm saying? So, and Bill out there, Vrabel. I don't know why Vrabel didn't get a job, but
that wouldn't make any sense at all.
Yeah, them got them 2 people out there. So, but yeah, like I said, if we make the playoffs, they definitely be good. If they miss the playoffs and have a decent year, I can still see them going. Like I said, fresh start. You know what I mean? Just, especially with the young players, because it can get old real fast from the young players. You know what I mean? Like they want to hear a different voice. Like, all right, we heard your voice. Solid. We was here with you, but we see we ain't going higher. So definitely a change for that. So
for sure, and I think the thing with only thing is I don't think Belichick would take the job of the Jets. I don't think there's anybody that hates the Jets more than Bill Belichick. Anybody. Like, the guy absolutely despises them. We know what happened with Spygate and all that. The guy hates and obviously in 2000 he ditched y'all to go to New England. So I don't the Belichick the Vrabel thing I could see happening. That feels more realistic. I mean, by the way, he's from the Belichick. You can't really see his coaching tree because he played for him, it never coached under him, but still that could make potentially make sense. But we'll see where that in that regard. But shifting to the NBA trade deadline, it was I gotta admit to you, it's kind of a snoozer. It wasn't a whole lot going on outside the New York Knicks, going out and getting some guys. Is there a clear winner and loser. Again, I think the winner probably have to be the Knicks. I'm curious your thoughts on that. But a winner and a loser from the trade deadline, like where are you kind of at on that?
For sure, like you said, man, Knicks, they made the splash. They probably made one of the biggest splashes earlier before the trade deadline, and they
Yep.
got some more pieces. So, man, yeah, they definitely looking good, man. Knicks could definitely. I've been hearing that Detroit Pistons comparison where it's like it's not really one star but a whole team. So you never know. This can definitely be that year because Milwaukee, they're not looking good. Doc, other than the one championship, man, Doc is an overrated head coach, man. I say
Yes.
it.
Thank you.
I say it, you know what I'm saying, out loud. I said it on our show. I said, listen, man, Doc is an overrated coach, man. He's a good coach, but he's not that Phil Jackson, you know what I mean? Like we know we got championship in the building, you know what I'm saying? But the Bucks not looking good. Boston can lose to anybody any given night. You just scratching your head like how? Like Indiana, they just try to outscore you.
Yeah, they can't guard anybody. They're the Sacramento Kings of the East, really.
Right. Or the old Phoenix Suns, you know what I'm saying? Just
Sure.
scoring and they might just make a stop or two athletic and stuff like that. Philly, Embiid, like other than Embiid, like Philly's okay. Like
Maxi's pretty good though.
He's good, but I think he's like almost like on the Purdy side point as far as people sometimes overrate him as far as
Really?
I think Maxi's overrated to me.
Oh,
personally.
I like Maxi more than you do. I think Maxi's good.
Yeah, no, I'm not saying
No, I respect that though.
kid,
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm not saying the kid isn't good, but I just think he's overrated and some of them stats can get padded because he's a second option now. So obviously your points gonna go up 5-6 points, you know what I mean? But he's a good player. So definitely, the Knicks definitely made the moves, man. And like I said, it could be their year, man. As long as they get healthy, because they're definitely banged up too. And then on the West, man, I like what Dallas did, man. Dallas picked up, Gafford from Washington. He's an old Bulls player. He's a solid center. He's a starting center, you know what I'm saying? So he's a starting center. PJ Washington out there can shoot. You know what I mean? He's a big man as well, and that's all they needed, man, because they got two people that can score 40 any given night. So you ain't worried about shooting and stuff like that. And Luka can drop 20 dimes too, so he can get them guys open and stuff like that. And also, people mention, but they don't mention is the new salary cap. Like you got to get players that's on a scale, like as far as money wise. Like just the 3-star thing is over. Like you might see it in Phoenix, but now who are you picking up? You know what I mean? You're picking up people for vet minimums and trying to make it happen. You know what I'm saying? So
right.
Yeah, I like definitely Dallas moves. My Bulls, man, we didn't do anything. I mean, Zach getting hurt definitely screwed us. Like definitely, but it could be a gift and a curse because I think Zach's value was low, was real low. So I think anything would have got in return would have been, half his value. I mean, anything's better than nothing, but I think we'll definitely revisit it in the off season and see what we can.
I think you're muted, John. I don't know if you muted your. I can't hear you. No, that's better. Yep, I got you.
I'm good. Okay, yeah, I had to tap my phone. Yeah, I thought we should have traded Drummond and got some picks and stuff like that. Yeah, so I think that's the losers. I mean, the Lakers. What more can the Lakers do? You know what I mean?
The only thing I wasn't as big on the train as the Lakers need all these sweeping changes. Last year, absolutely. Like the roster wasn't that good. It just didn't work. This year, the only thing I would have done is added a couple shooters because we know LeBron loves kicking out to shooters. But I mean, because outside of Russell and Austin Reeves, they don't have a lot of guys who can consistently knock it down from deep. Aside from that, though, length, got a lot of big guys there. Like I think Taurean Prince has been good for them this year. Like I don't think that's been.
Yeah, I think a lot of that. Like I said,
coach is kind of the problem. To be honest with you, John.
Yeah, I think that, and then like I said, just the LeBron effect. Like I was saying, like every time LeBron's on any team, it feels like he got to make super changes. You know what I mean? Just about every trade deadline. But yeah, they got what's the guy they got from Miami? So that's kind of a trade, I would say, because he only played 5 games this season. So
right,
they got him. It's a buyout market. I can see Dinwiddie or somebody like that going over there. Somebody like that. Who else? Kyle Lowry can go over there, point guard if they want. Maybe even Curry for a shooter. He might get bought out in the Hornets.
I think that'd work.
Yeah, so it's a good buyout market. You know what I mean? If the Lakers or Philly want to add pieces like that or whatever. But yeah, like I said, Dallas and New York is the big winners. I think my Bulls for not. at least trading one person and getting some assets, especially when people are expiring contracts and we're going to play in the playing tournament. I mean, what that means these days, like, I want better. I want better, man.
Yeah. Well, that's the thing in sports. You either want to be at the top or at the bottom. You want to have a clear direction forward. Like in the middle is the worst spot to be. Like I saw your guy Vucevic say the other day, like, we have enough. I'm like, enough to what? what enough? Yeah, that was a weird quote. But yeah, I think for Chicago, yeah, I think they're in a rebuilding stage, and they seem like they don't really want to acknowledge it yet. But just in general, though, like last NBA question, then we'll get to your Super Bowl pick. If you had to pick a favorite out west and out east, who would it be?
Like I said, East, man, I'm a roll with the Knicks for the East.
Okay, I like it.
Just because talent-wise, and as a Chicago fan, Tibbs can get that team together, man. And like I said, Giannis and them, and I can see Embiid being out for the season. Miami's there, but they still trying to figure that out. And Boston, man, I like Boston. It was my preseason favorite and stuff like that to win it all. And they still there, but I can see the Knicks and Boston right there. The West is weird too. Real weird because it just is. But I can see the hot team right now. You got to roll with the Clippers, man. I mean,
you're not. Oh no.
People hate to say it, but I say the Clippers, man, and the Clippers and the Suns. I can see the Clippers and the Suns. I can see
not Denver.
Not Denver now. Denver's, like I said, Denver and Boston is gonna be they're gonna be there a lot, but
right.
Who I think can challenge them and get over is definitely like I said, the Clippers. If they continue to play how they're playing, if they try to do something in the postseason and switch their game up, then it's not going to work. And Phoenix, they got Royce O'Neal. That's a nice pickup. Yeah, and they're starting to figure it out. All right, you the man. All right, you the man. You know what I mean? He's trying to figure out and they making their positions. You know what I'm saying? And Booker's obviously, Durant is Booker. You the man. You know what I mean? You got it. I'll be two. And Bill's like, I'll just pick my spots. Whenever y'all guys kind of tired, I'll come in. I'll drop 40 on my old team, the Wizards or something. You know what I mean? Like, I'll come in and handle the business. You know what I'm saying? So definitely them too.
Katie and Book have been playing amazing as of late. They both of those guys have been absolutely balling, for sure. But yeah, well, listen, it would be an LA New York series, so that in that respect, it would be fun for sure. But there's no way I think James Harden can put it together in the playoffs. I am not forget the Clippers thing. In theory, if Kawhi and Paul George were to stay healthy, I think both have shown, especially Kawhi, some great moments in the playoffs. I do not trust Harden. I've seen it too many times.
Yeah, but like I said, he's three though. He's three, man. You know what I mean? He's not one.
He was three in Brooklyn too, though.
He's not two. Brooklyn is just weird. Even Kyrie in his press conference was just talking weird. Yeah, this would have been different if this. Like, Brooklyn was just weird. It's like
it was.
When you think about history and stuff like that, Brooklyn might not even come up far as that era right there. You know what I mean? So yeah, they're still weird. They're still weird to this day, right? They should have stayed in New Jersey.
They should have stayed in New Jersey. I 100% agree with you there. Even though the Barclays Center is nice, they should have stayed in New Jersey. Last question, John. Before I ask your Super Bowl prediction, I'll pull up. We've had a couple other guests on throughout the last couple of weeks. We'll put them up. Tim Barnard of the Boston Sports Summit picked the Niners 28-17. Devin Nettles, big Ravens fan, came on 24-17 Kansas City Chiefs. So, John Rivera, I'm going to put you in the spot, my friend. Who you got?
I got Kansas City, man. I got Kansas City.
Okay.
I got San Fran, looking pretty good early. You know how the story goes. Look pretty good early, and Kansas City comes and, steals the show. But I can see 27-23. I can see 27-23. Something like that, if you want to write that down. I could see it, coming down. I could see San Fran coming up short in the last drive. Chiefs defense come and makes the, stop as they've been playing good all year and go from there, man. You know what I'm saying? But, yeah, like I said, you never know. But I just got a feeling, like I said, and I got a comment on your show, like, it's kind of a different year for the Kansas City. Like, everyone wants to see them kind of lose. And, I'm retired of the Chiefs. And, you know how it goes. So, I can still kind of see them, man, just pulling it off, man. And Pat Mahomes get his third. And, Pacheco, I love Pacheco, man. He runs hard, man.
Yes.
He runs hard. McCaffrey get his. Debo will get his total yards and stuff like that, like he does and stuff like that. But like I said, I can see in the 20s. Both teams definitely score in the 20s, and I can see Kansas City winning the game, though.
All right, so let's see. We'll put it up one more time. So John's got 27-23 Kansas City Chiefs. There you go. I'm going to give my prediction in just a second, but John Rivera, Pham Perspective Podcast. Everybody go check out my man's content. He does some great stuff. Him and Henny Dre. John Rivera, very excited to have you on the show once again, my man. Have a good one. Enjoy the Super Bowl.
Appreciate it. You too. We'll probably talk throughout.
Yes, sir. See you, man.
All right, man.
John Rivera of the Pham Perspective Podcast. Great stuff, as always. He keeps it real. I do not agree with this Clippers buy-in, but nonetheless, I'll tell you that I'm kind of with them on the Knicks thing, though. Listen, that's assuming Randall comes back, and Jalen Brunson. I'm a big Jalen Brunson guy. I think the guy has had a fantastic season. He's an amazing leader, great, one of the last pure point guards we have left in the league. Not as pure of a point guard as Chris Paul was, but they made some nice moves. Bogdanovich, Alec Burks, got some nice, scores at the guard spot. That was kind of the problem. Listen, like he mentioned, Tom Thibodeau teams play defense. That's a given. Listen, I'm a Tennessee Vols fan. Tennessee Vols men basketball. Up until this year, those Rick Barnes teams had some spotty offenses. They always play great defense. So that's Rick Barnes is kind of the Tom Thibodeau of college basketball, but Tibbs is going to have the defense ready to go, but now they've got these scores, these guys that can hit their own, can create their own shot in the case of Burks and knock down, and even Bogdanovich as well, and knock down open looks. Knicks are, and by the way, the Anunoby trade was hats off to them for that. Like John mentioned about a month ago. If the Knicks, I'll put it this way, if the Knicks are in the finals, I won't be surprised at all. Won't be surprised at all. And the 04 Pistons comparison is a good one. Now, if the Clippers are in the finals, I will be absolutely floored. I'm just going to be honest with you. The Clippers are in, I'll be shocked. I definitely like Tyrese Maxey, though, more than he does. I like Tyrese Maxey more than John does. But nonetheless, great stuff. John Rivera, Pham Perspective Podcast. Let's put up his prediction. I'm about to give mine in just a second. Let's put up his one more time, and as well as our other couple guests. So Tim Barnard, Niners 28-17. Devin has the Kansas City Chiefs 24-17. And John has the Chiefs 27-23. So 3 guests on the show the last couple of weeks, 2 with the Chiefs, 1 with the Niners. I'm glad we have a little bit of a split, a little bit of a diversity in our picks, in the sense that last year it was all Kansas City. Every single guest that came on my show pick, I think I had 6. Everybody picked Kansas City over Philadelphia. They were all obviously right, but it was it's nice to have one where we don't have a consensus. We don't have a consensus whatsoever. So it should be a fun one. So, everybody's giving their picks on this show, on national television, on all the podcasting platforms out there. What's my pick, though? You might ask. What's my pick? So here we go. Oh, before I get my pick, Patrick Brown in the comments. Oh, wow. 31-17. Oh, no. Listen, if the Niners win, won't be shocked. They're a fantastic football team. 31 on that defense. 17 for Kansas City. That wouldn't surprise me. 30. Ooh, I don't know about that. We'll see. But my prediction for Super Bowl 58. Can we just get the background music, the more intense background music? It is the playoffs. It's not just the playoffs. It's Super Bowl 58. It comes down to this. Oh. God. Down to 2. The NFC champion, San Francisco 49ers. The AFC champion and defending Super Bowl champion, looking for back-to-back titles, the Kansas City Chiefs. Niners, in a neutral site in Las Vegas, Nevada, Allegiant Stadium, are a 1.5 favorites in this matchup. So, man, is there a lot to break down. So, as I've said since Monday, or really since Sunday night going into Monday's show, when this matchup was set, Kansas City, San Francisco, a rematch of Super Bowl 54 just 4 seasons ago, I said, look, when you get the best quarterback in the league, Mahomes, you get the best roster in the league, San Francisco, those end up making the best Super Bowls. If you look historically, you think about those Cowboys-Steelers Super Bowls in the 1970s, if you think of some of those, those Niners and the Niners and Bengals Super Bowls in the 80s, where you had the best quarterback and best team in a certain respect in the San Francisco 49ers. But you got to admit, though, those Cincinnati Bengals teams are pretty good as well. 1990s, you're talking Dallas Cowboys, you're talking Steelers again, or Buffalo. 2000s, you had some of those Brady Super Bowls against the Panthers and then against the Rams. 2010s, Patriots and Seahawks was the greatest Super Bowl of all time. I will die on that hill until we see another one better. That one was an all-timer. This one has the potential to be, no question about it. So again, Niners are 1.5-point favorites. So by the way, it is worth noting, third straight game Kansas City's been a dog. Third straight game. They were dogs to Buffalo. Sort of get it. They were on the road. Sort of, even though Kansas City has the better quarterback, coach, and defense. And they won that game. Not very surprising, given their history. Then they were underdogs in Baltimore, which you totally understood that, given what Baltimore is doing to virtually everybody in the league, not named the Browns, Colts, and in particular, my Pittsburgh Steelers. Go Steelers. But that made sense. Kansas City came in on the road, hostile environment. Baltimore, calm, poised, cool, and collected. Won kind of an ugly defensive battle. Baltimore sort of screwed the game up themselves. Very similar to some of those Patriot teams, right, with Brady. I remember I was in Disney World when I made this comparison. I remember exactly where I was when I was talking about this, where after the Chiefs beat the Patriots back in December, I was like, okay, maybe I actually see them play the Patriots in Foxborough to say, wait a second, this is the Patriots back in the day. This Chiefs offense is not going to just flip a switch the way I thought it would. They're not going to. They just don't have the firepower. However, all-time great quarterback. Great coach who specializes on a particular side of the ball. All-time great tight end who's kind of at the end of the twilight years of his career. Limited wide receiving core and great defense. That's the Kansas City Chiefs. Compare them to the 18 Patriots. To me, that's the best comparison, or even the 14 Patriots to a certain degree, although that 14 Patriots team is much better offensively. Point being, it's a different Kansas City Chiefs team, as I've talked about for the last couple of weeks. You heard John detail it just a second ago. Very different Chiefs team than what we're normally used to. And I said after that, or going into that Buffalo game, and even going into that Ravens game to a lesser degree, if you want to get the Chiefs, you better do it this year. You better do it this year because the defense is young. Outside of Chris Jones and L'Jarius Sneed is going to get his bag. Everybody else in that Chiefs defense, mostly cheap, mostly young, rookie deals all over the place. That offense, though, they're on money. Pay some to maybe go out and get a DeAndre Hopkins. Maybe draft a guy to go on with the up-and-coming receiver, Rashee Rice. I anticipate, could be wrong in this, but I anticipate Travis Kelce is likely back next year. I would be surprised. Maybe not shocked, but I would be mildly surprised. Moderately surprised, I guess is a better way to put it, if Travis Kelce were to hang up his cleats along with his brother Jason. For the 49ers, the kind of the anti-Chiefs, where it's loaded offensively. I mean, awesome tight end, awesome two receivers. Debo, you can't just put in the box of receiver, running back, anything. He's just an offensive player. You know, you see some of these high school football players, they're listed as athlete. They don't have a position. That's Debo. He's just an offensive player. You can put him anywhere. All-time great left tackle. I'm willing to say it now. All-time great running back Christian McCaffrey. Phenomenal talent. And then Brock Purdy, who's not great, as some try to suggest. He's not bad, like others try to suggest. He's right there in the middle. Above average, certainly. Definitely better than Jimmy Garoppolo. The numbers and the eye test would suggest that. But he's around 13th, 14th best in the league. Listen, if he wins the Super Bowl, he certainly moves higher on my list. It's going to be hard to put him down or even keep him where he's at if they win this game and he plays well. But this Niners defense, as loaded as it is, Bosa, Warner, Greenlaw, really the three faces, Armstead as well, put him in that group, hasn't been overly impressive. Not just in the playoffs, but this season. San Francisco, 14th in the NFL against the pass. Now, that's significant. That's middle of the pack. That's just slightly above average. Like, the Niners defense is what Brock Purdy is. Good. Now, the Niners defense is far more upside than Purdy, but slightly above average, and that shouldn't be the case, especially when you consider the quarterbacks they face. Some of the quarterbacks the Niners have faced this year include, this hurts, Kenny Pickett, Daniel Jones, Joshua Dobbs, not Deshaun Watson, P.J. Walker. You look down the list and you see Geno Smith, You see Drew Lock on this list as well. Was it Drew? Yeah, Drew Lock in this game. The Seahawks played the Niners the second time. Sam Howell, Carson Wentz. And then the playoffs, up-and-coming quarterback Jordan Love, but not quite there yet. And a fringe top 10 guy, Goff, but not awesome. Very good quarterback, not an awesome quarterback. Now they have to face that guy wearing number 15 in Kansas City. You talk about the Kansas City Chiefs. What's their biggest weakness, you might ask? Well, it's stopping the run. They're bottom 12, I believe, if I check the numbers correctly, in or against the run. I think they're 20th in the league against the run. And there's that guy in San Francisco. His name's Christian McCaffrey, and he was just named last night the Offensive Player of the Year, rightfully so. That could be a problem for Kansas City. If the Niners win this game, it's going to be on one condition, at least from the offensive side of the ball, which will then impact their defense. Play it safe, complimentary. The best scenario for San Francisco, the best strategy for San Francisco, Patrick Mahomes touches the ball as little as possible. We're going to bleed the clock. We're not going to take a ton of risks, right? Listen, maybe not a lot of shots with Brandon Ayuk, which, by the way, isn't going to be there anyway because he got L'Jarius Sneed on Brandon Ayuk. Brandon Ayuk's not doing anything on Sunday, and I love Ayuk. L'Jarius Sneed's going to lock him down. He's been locking down the best receivers in the league all season long. He's going to do that with Ayuk. It's going to be a lot of Christian McCaffrey. Going to be a lot of Deebo Samuel. But Brock Purdy, game manager certainly, as John detailed, but also a bit of a risk taker. Wouldn't go so far as to call him a gunslinger, but he's far from a play it safe, just dink and dunk. He'll take risks. And in some respects, he's capable of doing so, but in others, he'll make some throws. He did a few times in that loss to Baltimore. You're like, what the heck is he doing? What did he see there? Even in some of the playoff games against Green Bay, should have thrown a pick six against Green Bay. Some of those throws against Detroit. What the heck are you doing? This Kansas City defense, though, makes you pay. A lot like those Patriots defenses did back with Tom Brady. I have a feeling this is going to be a game relatively close after quarter one, right? Both teams probably get a touchdown on the board. And late first half, Brock Purdy makes that one mistake. Kansas City scores as a result. Niners play panicked. Kansas City, by far, not even close, the best defense the Niners have played this postseason. San Francisco starts to panic. They abandon the run with McCaffrey. And then the Chiefs pin their ears back. That pass rush coming after Purdy against the 21st ranked offensive line in the league, which the Niners were, according to Pro Football Focus. And Mahomes and Kelsey ride the wave against what has been an average secondary for San Francisco, especially with the loss of my man Talanoa Hufanga. I've loved that guy for 2 years. I think he's a phenomenal player. Out for the season for San Francisco. Mahomes, Kelsey will expose what's a limited Niners secondary. That Chiefs pass rush, when they build a lead, will come after Purdy. See, the thing is, against the Ravens got a good offensive line, so they didn't get to Lamar as much as you might like. Against San Francisco, different issue, especially coming on the right side, coming on the right side against Purdy. So, all that said, give me the Kansas City Chiefs in my, let's put that up one more time, in my upset of the week, and simultaneously, if I were a bet man, give me the Chiefs plus 1.5, and to win the game outright, 30-17 over the San Francisco 49ers, relatively comfortably. The Kansas City Chiefs will be Super Bowl champions for the 4th time in franchise history and the 3rd time in the last half decade. And of course, this is a formality, assuming the Chiefs win. Patrick Mahomes will be Super Bowl MVP. That will be his 3rd honor in that regard. He will be by Super Bowl Sunday night a 3-time Super Bowl champion, a 3-time Super Bowl MVP, and a 2-time league MVP, and no lower than the 3rd greatest quarterback of all time. Kansas City wins Super Bowl 58, 30-17. And by the way, allows me for the 2nd time in the history of carving it up to say I predicted the Super Bowl champion before the season kicked off. Now, listen, this one would not be near as impressive as my Tampa pick back in 2020 when I actually did predict them to beat the Chiefs in the Super Bowl, which is exactly what happened. However, a lot of people bailed on the Chiefs this season. I said, no. When you have that guy, number 15, when you have Coach Reed, when you have the greatest tight end ever, when you have a defense as good as this, they'll get it right. They can flip a switch, and they'll make the plays necessary when they need to make them, despite the limitations at wide receiver. Kansas City, Super Bowl 58 champions one more time, 30-17 over the San Francisco 49ers. By the way, I know a lot of folks going to be real big mad about it's a conspiracy. Taylor Swift. Is she involved in this? Get lives. Anyways. Listen, this is why I love Grady. You know what? Grady is a troll at heart, but I don't count this as trolling, okay? Because Grady is a dude to hold you accountable, and that's why he's a great friend. You're Grady in the comments. Your Super Bowl predictions before the season last year was pretty impressive. Yes, I picked the Denver Broncos to knock off the Los Angeles Rams last year in the Super Bowl. I said that before the year started, and both teams won a combined 10 games, and Denver's season was over before it even started, and the Rams just fell apart physically. So that was a great pick. That was a great pick. Yeah, Grady, I'm never forgetting that, man. Not going to let you off the hook there, nor should you, nor should anybody, okay? If I want to be praised for my great picks, I need to allow folks, including myself, to criticize my horrible picks. And that, I don't think anything is going to ever surpass that. At least I hope not. I hope I never have a prediction in my life that's, listen, we get stuff wrong. I get stuff wrong all the time. I pray to God I don't have one as bad as that. I don't think I will. Because that was, yikes. I mean, it would have been nice to at least go with a safer bet of the Chiefs or the Niners, obviously the teams in this year's Super Bowl, or even the Eagles. I didn't really believe in the Eagles before the season last year. Obviously, I was wrong because they got to the Super Bowl, but like that taught me a lesson. Like, swing big on one of your picks and play it safe with the other. And that's kind of what I did this year. Kansas City going back-to-back, not a terribly controversial pick. It's just not. But I did pick Dallas to win the NFC. That was my going out on a limb pick, and it was a better pick than Denver and LA last year. Still wasn't very good. Okay? It was not a good one. Ooh, that was a clunker. By the way, folks are still talking about that game. Outside the Cowboys, they know how to market even their losses. For sure. But once again, Kansas City 30, Niners 17. A lot of Chiefs talk and a lot of Niners talk as well on Monday's show. Like I said, then we'll get out of here. The two biggest overreaction Mondays of the entire season is the Monday the Monday after week 1 Sunday games and the Monday after the Super Bowl. That we kind of bookend it to a certain degree. Everything else in between, there's overreactions to a certain extent, but we're like, it's a long season. Week 1, everybody panics about the bad teams. Everybody overreacts or not the bad teams, the teams that lose, and everybody overreacts to the teams that win. And the Super Bowl, we do the same thing. The champions are going to reel off 10 straight, and the losers they're terrible. They can't coach. Their quarterback stinks. Roster's no good. Fire everybody. That's what we do every year. Every year. And this year will be no different. Maybe not with Kansas City if they lose, but certainly if the result plays out the way I think it will, be a lot of those type of conversations. But that is all the time we have for today's show. Appreciate everybody stopping by. As always, be sure to catch Carving It Up Live on Monday at 6 p.m. Eastern, 3 p.m. Pacific time, right here on Twitter, as well as the Carving It Up YouTube channel and the Grid Network YouTube channel. Nothing but Super Bowl reaction. Very excited about that. One of my favorite shows of the year is the Monday after the big game. Should be a fun one, no question about that. I'm going to discuss that. And of course, be sure to like, to share, to comment, and to hit that big red subscribe button. It helps the channel grow exponentially. We're trying to make one last late push to get to 1,000 subscribers by Super Bowl 58. Yeah, it's going to be a little bit of a late push, but I believe if we can make it happen, if everybody tells everybody, then we can maybe make it happen to get to 1,000 by the Super Bowl. So if you have subscribed, cannot tell you how much your support means to me, means to everybody involved with Carving Up Live. Please be sure to tell a friend, to tell a friend, to tell their family members, to tell your family members, to tell their cat. Just don't wake them up. Okay, I have a cat. You do not wake up a cat. You don't do that. You don't do that. They will be mad at you for the rest of the day, if not beyond that. And if you have not subscribed, hey, just takes a couple seconds here. If you're here on YouTube, down there, hit that big red subscribe button, and boom, you're part of the Carving It Up family. Very exciting weekend. Cannot wait. And here we go. Super Bowl 58. I'll see y'all on Monday's show. Stay safe out there. God bless y'all. Oh, whoops. Wrong one. Peace out. I'm messing with my peace signs. Hey, Rock, take us out here.
Finally, it is time for the Super Bowl!
Thanks so much for watching the show on YouTube, and be sure to go click that big red subscribe button and check out the other clips and full shows from Carving It Up Live, as well as our other incredible content creators here on the Grid Network.